start from the start and I'll focus on one piece I did on the car, start to finish. Then I'll go through and I'll just be targeting things that went wrong and things to do and not to do. So stick around and hopefully you'll learn something from this video.
Greetings world and greetings 7 Spot. We are here in beautiful British Columbia in Vancouver where it's 23 degrees 2 days after solstice, and we're speaking to Josh Lee in Wamaroo, I hope I'm saying it correctly, in New Zealand where it's 4 degrees. Is that about right?
Yep, it's pretty chilly out here at the moment.
Yeah. I can empathize. We share a similar, I think, a similar kind of weather situation here in Vancouver, because we get cold enough so that we will see a little bit of snow during the winter, but not an awful lot, a few days. But we also have lots of skiing and surfing and snowboarding here, as well as we love our cars. So why don't we jump into the car part and you can tell us about what you've built there. And I've got a zillion questions because, as I said, I'm late to the game. I found you on Facebook and I love what you're doing. I found your YouTubes and I just got into watching your composite issues that you've been dealing with. But tell us when you got started and why did you start this build?
So the idea all started way back when I was doing my engineering maintenance apprenticeship. I was working with a guy who was building an AC Cobra kit car and got really interested in it. And then he actually had the books at work on all the rules on how to put a car on the road. So in my smoko breaks, I would read them, and eventually I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. This is a bucket list thing for me. I'm gonna one day build a car." And then he retired, and then unfortunately passed away before finishing his car, just a year after retirement. So I decided it's not going to be a bucket list thing. I'm just going to do it now. So I started, and I definitely took a few things from the book to make life a lot easier for me. Mm-hmm. So with the car, the geometry is essentially the same as an MX5.
Yes.
Now, for the rules in New Zealand, if you want to do things that are connected to the steering and the brakes, there is like another level of testing that they have to do because they want to go and test like deeper into your welds and so forth. So what I actually did was I've used the front arms out of an MX5.
Yep.
And in the back, I've used the front arms out of a Honda Civic, because this here, it has a K20 Honda engine in the back, and that is a common motor to put into a Civic.
Yeah.
The Civic has an Aeon type rear end in it, so it made sense for me to use that, and it fitted in with the wheelbase of an MX5 quite well. So then I'd kind of decided this is what I'm going to use in the front, this is going to use in the back, and try and join them up to make the car work and drive like an MX5, but with a rear engine sort of mid-mounted.
You say it's an MX5. I guess the length of it is exactly the MX5 wheelbase. Is that right?
The wheelbase is the same as an MX5, and then the front geometry is the same setup. And I've even used the manual steering rack out of an MX5.
Okay. Was it the powered one, or is it?
No, just a manual one. Yeah. Make life easy for myself.
I've got friends who are dealing with that issue right now. It's a very leaky mess. And the issue, and so you've been at it for how long now? 4 years, you said?
Well, I started, and obviously the idea was there for a long time. And yeah, so after my engineering apprenticeship, I in my spare time, I used to race off-roaders, and I got into CAD drawing, and it became a real hobby for me. And then I actually picked up a job about 6 or 7 years ago for a company doing their CAD work, still on the tools quite a bit, and running their CNC machines or programming them for them. So with that background, I just started drawing things. Like once I had the back subframe, front subframe, I started coming up with all these really silly designs. I did look at motorbike engines there for a start, actually. But then I decided to go two-seater, and then I was looking at obviously the Aerial Atom with the same motor as this has, and decided that was the platform. And a car come up that had someone had left the handbrake off it, and it rolled backwards down a hill and slammed into a car. So it was good because all the front was still mint, and I could steal everything I needed out of that. And it was only like an hour away, but I have actually since gone, because that was just an S-type motor, and now I've stepped it up to the R-type motor. So I've got
is it turbocharged as well?
Yeah, so I decided if I'm going to go through the whole certification thing, I was like, this car is obviously a little bit out there for what you see mostly around here, and I thought it's all about the feel, like with it being open top, and I quite like turbo cars, so I decided just to pull the pin and go for the turbo, and at the same time, it meant that the car was going to weigh a bit more. Within the rules in New Zealand, if you have like a Lotus type frame and your motor is under 200 horsepower, you're allowed to keep the tubing a lot lighter. But as soon as you step it up over around the 200 mark, they want you to go a wee bit heavier. So I did go a wee bit heavier. And then this is still at the design stage. Then once I had it all packaged in a design that I liked, the frame was pretty good. The bodywork and stuff was quite vague. I then could send all the drawings and stuff that I'd done to the tag team in New Zealand, so that they're a group of people that assess essentially these plans and tell you if it's worthy or not. So I sent to them, and they were a little bit shocked because I'd gone way too far into it. I'd actually done a whole lot of like crash simulation and all sorts of stuff that I didn't actually have to do, but it's all good stuff to do. So I sent them all that, and they did get me to add a couple more tubes and things here and there, and a couple of gussets, and they were actually really quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went on to then start building the frame. Some of it I got CNC bent, some of the real tricky ones, and sent to me. And it was really lucky because right before our COVID lockdown, I'd done all this, and it was pretty much sitting in my garage.
Oh, good.
And then COVID lockdown come down, and I was able to put the frame together pretty much in that time. Then build the subframes as well. The subframes, they're pretty grunty. Next time I'd build them a bit lighter. But with the car having hopefully quite a lot of power, I'm also not too worried about adding weight in the front end over the back end, just to balance it out a wee bit. But so and then you go off and get a certification. So I took it up the road, and they looked over it, and again they got me to add a couple more tubes. Some of them don't make sense to me with the simulation stuff, but to get it to the road, it's just what you do. So I did that, and then I built the body. So building the body was one of the hardest parts of the car. Now, doing the bucks and things, it was really fun actually. I did really enjoy it, apart from all the sanding and the problems along the way. But it's all about the overcoming of things and working things out. And I did also try lots of different versions of how it can be done. So like the bonnet, I did it really properly. I made a laser cut buck, plastered it all, made it really nice, and then made a mold off of that, which is just up behind me here, and went through all of that. And I still had some issues because I was learning. And then the front guards were a similar thing, but they made them as a one-off part, which I'm hoping I won't regret. And then the back, I actually made a steel wireframe.
Yeah.
And wrapped it in material and made that as the mold. But then again, just put material on top and pulled that off as one-off parts. And the rear wing is different as well, because it actually has like an exposed internal frame, and it's really just composite on the outside. So I know now what works for me and what doesn't. It's real tricky with some of the stuff I see online, because the products we get here are different.
Mm-hmm.
and you try and match things, the way you see other people do it, and it doesn't work out the same. So there's a lot of trying to work out and just what you can use and what you can't use, or what's going to work for you. Yeah.
Well, I got a couple of questions. You're talking about the COVID lockdown and then having the time to dedicate yourself to the project there. How were your welding skills before you went into the project?
I had been welding in my job for quite a few years.
Oh, so it was not a big learning curve for you.
No. Some of the complex notching was probably more of a learning curve, but no, it's all TIG welded. There is the odd spot that's been MIG'd, but it's all pretty much TIG welded. But yeah, no, I had quite a reasonable background in TIG welding.
Now tell us about composites.
So
the nervous laugh.
Yeah. So it is actually carbon fiber skinned, this car now. I'll bring you in close so you can see. That's like the matte finish, and there's some gloss finish there. I need to buff out my clear coat on that. But so yeah, like I was saying, I went through all those processes. One of the biggest problems we had, which you would have seen in my video, is I actually used the wrong paint under my carbon fiber, and what was happening was it was breaking down and then causing a chemical reaction underneath the carbon. So some of these stripes that you see on here weren't actually planned, but they're strategically placed to hide some things that I couldn't handle looking at. There are still some, but it's not too bad. Yeah, I'll bring you guys in for a closer look. I also have used Lexan down the sides at the moment, so you can kind of see through into the tube here. And am I able to flip this camera around? There we go. You're all over it.
There we go.
Cool. So yeah, coming down here, I've got the Lexan sides here. It's quite cool. I just wanted to show off some of the framework and behind there. And when you're sitting in the seat, you can actually see through it and just see a little bit of the wheel, which is kind of cool. I'll show you what I meant before by the wing. So it has some aluminium. If you can see in here, it's quite dark in there. Some aluminium pieces through, and then it's carbon on the outside. This air intake is complete carbon with a forged carbon center on it to hide the seam.
Mm-hmm.
This is the engine setup. So what we got here is a turbo I got made up by a company. It's essentially a TD04, so kind of like a Mitsubishi Evo turbo.
So it'll spin up nice and quick, and so you probably don't have too much lag on that at all.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's going to be not too big and yeah, spool up early, and because I don't really need a huge amount of power on it. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard to spec one because it's a realm that I didn't really know with this engine. So I had to try and trust some people, and it's hard to know who you're talking to if they really know. And then I found these guys, and they actually asked a lot of really good questions and helped me spec this. So I'm hoping it'll be quite good. Then it comes through. It's got a water to air intercooler here.
Yes.
The car. Oh, I could do a brief talk about my cooling. So I actually initially had the radiator in the front of the car, and then I also did design where it was ducted through the car, and I quickly worked out that wasn't going to do well in the simulation. And then when I had it in the front, it had some problems with it fitting in there, being too low, and getting in the way of my bodywork. So it was getting in the way. So I ended up just cutting it in half. It's an aftermarket Honda radiator anyway, and mounting them either side in the side pods here.
Yeah.
And I made some ducting here.
Yeah,
it's hard to see.
I can see that.
Maybe this side. Yeah, so there's one either side. So ducting also is really nice because the fan's up on top, sucking through, and it also protects radiator from any crack from the back wheel. So then when I did the water to air intercooler, I was again going to put the radiator out the front, but I've actually ended up mounting a third radiator down in here that has quite a lot of ducting on it, and it comes through the snacker duct here, which is also clear, and through and straight to the back, and it has its own fan as well to draw air. So I'm hoping my cooling's going to be really good. So far with what I've done driving with it, it has been really good. The radiators are so good that it was a really cold evening, but the other evening I had it out and only driving like probably 10 kilometers an hour, and it was staying so cool that the fans weren't even needing to click on. So the thermostat was doing all the work. So I was pretty happy with that.
Well, that's very cool. Can you tell me about your dampers? You've got inboard push rod dampers on the front.
Yeah. Let me, I'll pop the bonnet up and let you guys have a closer look there. So you can see all the subframe in my fuel tank all up in here. Now, yeah, with the suspension, I as you can see, like if I went upright, it would have sort of ended up over here. So I decided to go inbound, and then I did all the maths to work out a good ratio for the rocking to go through. So you get that progressive rate, and it also just looks cool. Like I liked the atoms and stuff, how you could see the shock on the front. And when I was designing this, one of my goals was when you're sitting in the driver's seat, you can just see a wee bit of the shock, so you can see it moving up and down as you're driving along. All tied in here, yeah. And then the back is sort of a similar principle.
And what shock do you use? I know that a lot of people use the R1 dampers on the front because it comes complete with the rotation arm. But I'm wondering, what design did you use for that?
Yeah, so they're a QA1 shock. A lot of hot rodders use them, and you can buy them with different ends on them. So I got one with the ball joint ends, top and bottom, just to make it. Now the attachment from this this piece in here, you can hardly see it, but on the bottom of a Honda shock, it actually comes down, and then there is a piece that attaches to the bottom of it that forks around the axle. So all I've done there is taken that piece and then mimicked the bottom of their shock with a wee piece in here that takes a rod end, and it was a really neat way just to make that work for me.
Wow, very cool. And who is that? The engineering for that? Did you do that yourself, or do you have a mill and you do all that stuff yourself?
Yeah, I do all that myself. So I'm lucky at work we have a lot of gear, and I program CNC lathes, and I also clearly have access to a CNC plasma cutter, a very good CNC plasma cutter. So that's why I can get away with doing lots of stuff around that and work it all out in CAD first. So when I piece it together, it just sort of nicely goes together.
And your diffuser is your own design there as well?
Yeah, aluminium diffuser. It's a full flat floor, so it should actually be doing something. But
I've got one on the back of mine. I'm not sure that it does anything, but it looks cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping it does do something, but I haven't actually done the testing to work it out. And obviously my rear wing would do nothing because it's not really getting much air, but it looks cool. And the other thing is, within the rules, you're not allowed your exhaust poking out more than 100 mil past your rear bodywork. So I'm classing that as my rear bodywork, and then I have a bit more exhaust poking out.
Very cool. Well, just awesome. I wish I'd tuned in much earlier to watch this build, so it would have been great to watch it evolve. Interior-wise, that's all your own design?
Yeah. So these here are actually out of that Honda Integra that I got the original motor out of. I was wanting to go to more of a waterproof seat, and I was trying to buy like a Polaris side by side or one of those sort of vehicles seats, like an off-road sort of seat. But these things are actually really comfy, and they work out like with the way the seat belts work and everything quite nicely. So I'm pretty happy with these at the moment. So I'm just going to stick with them for now. And then my center console is just an aluminium piece that I made that I wrapped in a vinyl, a diamond stitch vinyl, and I made all these wee bits and pieces. I got some cup holders because it's essential, and yeah, so I've got with the dash. The dash actually needs a whole lot more work. It's still a work in progress, but um, it's got a Haltech screen in it. So I run all Haltech ECU, and then I just got it as a piggy tail, and between me and a friend, we wired the whole thing ourselves. So that was actually a really big learning curve for me as well.
I know it scares the heck out of me. The whole wiring thing is just like,
yeah. And one of these things, these motors seem to have a lot of sensors and stuff going on. But man, I actually really enjoy it because it's like all the small problem solving steps. So you go in, you're like, okay, now what is this? What are these 3 wires coming out of this need to do? And you research, you find it out, and you do that one, and you're like, oh, cool. And then next time you do another one, and eventually it all just sort of comes together.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question because on mine, I mean, mine's got a Hayabusa bike engine, and basically the wiring loom is essentially the bike engine wiring loom,
yes,
with some changes. But in your case, it's come out of the Honda. Did you have to splice it and then extend it?
No, I didn't want to. I didn't want to have any soldered joints or anything. So with the piggy tail that you get with the Haltech, so it essentially just plugs into the ECU, and then it has these really long wires, heaps of them. So I lay them all out, and then went and brought all new plugs and crimps, and plugged and crimped all new plugs onto it to go on. Yeah, so my friend that was helping me do that, he's actually a professional rally mechanic. He works for a team here in New Zealand, and he helped me sort of understand all of that. That was really helpful.
Yeah, as I said, it just, I mean, mine looks pretty, but I don't think I want to take off the scuttle anytime soon, and let somebody take a look underneath.
Oh yeah. I think everyone can relate to that though. Yes.
Well, what a treat it is to be here with you and to see this in the dead of your winter, the coldest and longest days or nights of your winter. So, what can I say, Josh? Thank you so much.
No, thank you, and I look forward to watching more of your videos. It's been a pleasure to be on here.
Well, as I say, I can hardly wait and I'm going to be following you and following your continuing videos to watch you tune it all in. And I'm really looking forward to that. So with that, I'm going to say thanks an awful lot for sharing this with everybody at 7 Spot. I'm so glad that we have had the time to get together.
Perfect. Thanks, Jim. It's been a pleasure.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, and I can't